All right. So let's begin. Welcome, everybody. Nice to have you here. Salimah from Yoga Vision. And today we are taking on a really interesting topic, a topic that is timely, topic that is important for us to consider during this particular time. So let's begin. In history. So we're talking about the topic of PTSD, and that is post-traumatic stress disorder. It has evolved as a way of coming to an understanding of what happens when there's trauma and how trauma affects the body and how trauma can impact how we socialize, how we live, how we interact, and also how we care for ourselves on a day-to-day basis. So let me give you some background. First of all, I'm a yoga therapist and how trauma affects the body and how trauma can impact how we socialize, how we live, how we interact. And so this is a very important conversation, and I want to just introduce myself first. My name is Salimah. I'm a yoga therapist, and what we're looking at today is PTSD. I would say about 9 years ago, I had an opportunity to work with a colleague of mine. Her name was Farah Jindani, and Farah worked at the University of Toronto. She's a researcher and also a Kundalini Yoga teacher. And she came up with a protocol for treating PTSD with Kundalini Yoga. And because we were associates and colleagues, I had an invitation to teach that program. And that 8-week program turned into something very important, not only for the women who were taking the class, but also for this channel. So the reason I chose this particular topic for today is because when I look at all the views on each of the channel videos, what I see is that this one on Kundalini Yoga for PTSD, this is one of the highest numbers of views. And so what that tells me is that there's a lot of us who are looking for relief and looking for alternates to treatment. And I wanted to be part of that conversation so that you can use this practice a little more effectively and more as a therapy if that's what you're looking for. So, again, I'm a yoga therapist and not particularly trained in psychology or a medical practitioner in any way. I come by this information um, as a Kundalini Yoga expert, and also many, I would say hundreds, if not thousands, of students who have come through either the yoga studio that I was running a few years back, or through the questions that have come through on that PTSD video. So that's what my background is. And what I'm most hoping for today is that you feel a safe space, that you know that the interest that you have in helping yourself through this particular um, state of being is addressed fully and completely, and that you have a reassured sense that Kundalini Yoga could be a part of your complementary medicine along the way. So first, let's begin. What is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder? It is it's vast. So I want to break this down a little bit more so that for those of you who are familiar, you have a sense of recognition here, and for those of you who are new to understanding what's happening, you have an idea of what we're looking to address with Kundalini Yoga as a therapy. So it is, first of all, there is simple PTSD, probably an understatement, and also complex PTSD. And some of the parameters around how this works is really based on whether the trauma that was experienced was one time. And that could be something that was a natural disaster, it could be a sexual violence, it could be an experience of someone dying. It is those types of experiences. When it relates to the term complex, there is a likelihood of more frequent, more intense, and probably most importantly, more occurrence. So, those are the two defining ways to think about PTSD. And there are other qualifications or other characteristics. I won't go into all of that right now, but some of the things that show up in terms of your or one's or our way of expressing this is probably number one is emotional deregulation. So, issues of trust, issues of self, issues of being able to recognize emotional states and create good boundaries. There are also things that come up like sleeplessness and destabilization, deregulation of the body systems itself. So the immune system is compromised, the nervous system is compromised, because what's happening is that the body itself and the mind and the emotions are looking for a way to cope with ongoing stress. So let's use a very simple example. Let's say you're waiting for a phone call, an important phone call, and when the phone rings, your heart rate goes up. You feel a little clenching in your belly and maybe a little lightheadedness or dizziness because you're anticipating something to happen. So think about that one-time occurrence and all the adrenaline that needs to happen in order for that to take place, your heart rate going up, your sweat glands getting involved, and maybe a sense of nervousness or anxiety. Think about that in a one-time experience and then consider the impact of sustaining that over maybe months or years or a lifetime. And that's the kind of impact that we're looking to address. And so that becomes a powerful state to be in because that state is in a state of reactivity. And because of that reactivity, there's so much that the body, the mind, the spirit, and the emotions have to do in order to really take on coping with the trauma. And that trauma comes up not only as a one time experience or a real lived multiple experience, but what comes back in memory or flashbacks or dreams or smells or taste or touch. All of that can impact what is happening in terms of really being able to address what is happening with PTSD. So those are some of the things that come up during that particular phase of understanding a sense of self. And from a yogic perspective, there are also a lot of different ways to address what is happening with PTSD. Number one is a sense of self and losing a sense of self. And it's given over to the trauma that took place. And so when we've given over our trauma to another experience or to an event that has taken place, we lose sight of what's important in the here and now. So we have some work cut out for us in order to address the the impact of PTSD. Some of those ways of dealing with PTSD are through medication. So if you are diagnosed and have seen a medical doctor or a psychologist or psychotherapist, there may be medications that are appropriate. There could be cognitive behavioral therapy, so talk therapy that helps to address emotional states and also redirecting and reframing our habits and our moods and our ways of coping. And then there are other things like acupuncture, like change of diet, and yoga and meditation. And that's really what I'm here to talk to you about today is how can Kundalini Yoga really be an effective part of your treatment process and also to consider that the world has gone through a big trauma. We're sitting in this COVID experience right now, and a lot of us have seen changes to our lifestyle, to our income, to our families. We've seen mass scale unrest in terms of politically. There's been some instability across the world due to world events. There is a destabilization of our healthcare systems, and also for many of us, change in income. And so all of these things impact how we look at the world, how we operate, how we show up, how we take care of ourselves. And it's a really important time now to bring this topic forward of PTSD. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming into the chat and for really participating in this conversation. I'll open the floor now to conversations as we go go a little further into our conversation. But let's take a moment now and really settle in on this topic, PTSD, and what we can do to address it using Kundalini Yoga. So let's take a moment now and sit up tall and straight. Bring your back against the chair if you're sitting on a chair, or if you're sitting on the ground and preparing to listen and take in this experience. Please be relaxed in your seated posture. Come to a cross-legged position if you're on the ground or on a sofa or a bed. And then roll your shoulders all the way up. Bring your shoulders up close to your ears. Inhale very deeply here. Exhale and roll your shoulders all the way back and down. Beautiful. So here is the opportunity to take a few moments to breathe, to settle into yourself, and to really open to the experience of listening and to be aware of this topic in your day-to-day life. So as you close your eyes now, take 3 sniffs. Inhale, 3 sniffs. And exhale. Do that a few times. Inhale, 3 sniffs. A few more times. Good. So as you go ahead, continue to breathe, continue to use this breathing pattern to bring a rhythm back into your body. Inhaling 3 sniffs. And think about this as a way of cleansing, as a way of coming back to your true self, of being centered and present into your body, into your breath, and into this conversation. So as you sit now, start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Good. Take a deep inhale, squeeze all of your muscles, squeeze, tense everything. Exhale and relax. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes again, and bring your 2 hands over your heart center. Just taking a moment here to connect to your spirit, to your soul. 2 more breaths. Inhale very deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale very deeply. Hold and tense. We're resetting the nervous system now. Hold and tense. Good. Exhale. And relax. So something to note about PTSD and the impact is there comes a deregulation of the body's rhythms and a sense of disconnection between breath through emotions, through mental states. And so here, what Kundalini Yoga has to offer is something very straightforward and also something very effective. So you've probably, if you've been listening to this channel for a while, you've been hearing me talk about Kundalini Yoga and the nervous system. So let's backtrack on that a little bit so that you have an understanding of how it impacts and what you can do to use this practice a little bit more effectively for PTSD. First and foremost, there is a particular sense of rhythm and a sense of protocol that happens in a Kundalini yoga class. You probably noticed by now that there's a moment to settle, a moment to use mantra, Om Namo, Gurudev Namo, to tune into the class, to settle in, to do some breathing, a series of warm-up exercises, the Kriya itself, a relaxation, a meditation, and a close. And that simple structure, very simple, in fact, brings a lot of settledness, a lot of calm, because what's happening is that we're setting the stage. Every time you enter into a class, whether it's a live class or here on YouTube with me, you'll have a sense of what's coming. You know that I'll be talking to you for a little bit. You know that there will be other people on screen sharing the experience with you and showing you different ways to move. And then you have the class structure itself. And that can be very settling and very relaxing because in that you have a protocol, a ritual, so to speak. And rituals become very important because they allow us to feel safe. Each time you come into your home, you take off your shoes, you lay down your keys, you put your things away, or at least that's what I do. And there's something homecoming about that. And so that's the feeling that should happen in a Kundalini yoga class, where there's a warmth and there's a social element to the class that's coming from the teacher and from the other students. That's your first level of safety and a sense of for yourself. Do I like it here? Do I feel comfortable here? Do I feel heard, listened to? Do I feel seen? And all of that is really important. Once you sit down and you have your chance to arrange yourself on the mat, you know you're there for purpose. You know you've shown up to be your highest self and to really connect with something a little deeper and a little bit more profound instead of our daily mundane run around, get the stuff done, go back home and do it all again tomorrow. So you're arriving for an experience. And in that experience, you have a chance to repattern the brain. So you'll notice that there's a lot of repetition of movement in Kundalini Yoga. If you consider Sufi grinds, for example, inhaling as you come forward and exhaling as you circle all the way to the back, you have a rhythm. And then we switch. You go all the way back and then come all the way forward. You notice that there's a rhythm. And after about a minute of this kind of rhythm, you feel a little bit more settled, more relaxed. Your energy is flowing in a particular kind of way. And that's a rhythm. That's a rhythm that helps to reestablish your nervous system. It allows your body to relax. And when there's PTSD present, a lot of times there's also anxiety and hypervigilance. In other words, we're looking, we're waiting, we're prepared for any sudden surprises, any sudden experiences that we need to guard for. And so once you start to move into a rhythm, we start to come back to the natural patterns of who you are and how you are at the very early stages of your life. And those are important things because once your rhythm is reestablished, you have a chance to do more healing. And yes, healing is definitely possible. So we focus on mantra. Mantra is a way to allow the breath to cycle in a specific kind of way. And in the cycling of breath, we have a regulation of the mind. And the mind, not just the mind, but also the brain itself. So, this organ that sits here and controls all of our functions on a day to day basis, whether they're conscious, our words, our choice of words, what we choose to eat, what we choose to wear, what we choose to do with our time. And then there's the unconscious. So our nervous system runs much of that. Our unconscious is a heartbeat. Unconscious is adrenaline. Unconscious is our release of hormones. And by unconscious, meaning your body does that automatically. Not that it's unconscious to you, but that there's an automatic function there. And once we get into that regulation of breath and brain, we start to see a little bit of a shift. And that shift is about relaxing. That shift is about um, redirecting energy and making different kinds of choices. And those choice points are really important because when we're in emotional states that are heightened, it's very difficult to choose a different option. And if we can get to that place where we sit in class, take a few long, deep breaths, relax, do our deep meditation, and come back, the things that were challenging before class may have shifted. In other words, our way of dealing with it will have shifted. And I think that's the hope that we can explore and take in from a practice of Kundalini Yoga is that there's a way of addressing our emotional states, our traumatic states, and coming through and giving ourselves enough time and momentum and courage and hope enough to do that. So that's the experience that I've had with people who have come through with PTSD and have given that to my attention and also have taken class on a regular basis. So you'll notice there are classes on the channel that have a lot of repetition. And in particular, I want to call out for you the one on PTSD. I'm supported here today by Vanessa, and Vanessa's offering to help out with the chat. So she's going to post that link for the video here in the live chat so that you can take a look. And I highly encourage you to take that on. If these symptoms sound like you, or maybe you haven't had a formal diagnosis, but it sounds like something that you've gone through in your life has led you to feeling a sense of recognition here in this conversation, then I highly encourage. It's not a diagnosis; it is an opportunity to explore. So once you see that link, please take a look at the video. And the protocol is to do that 40 days in a row. I know it sounds like a lot. I know it sounds challenging, and that is true. That's true for any of us who are building a practice. And I think I would be making an understatement if I said it would be easy, or that I said it would just be a daily challenge to sit and remember to practice. What you may experience is a little bit of a heightening of your symptoms or how you experience PTSD. And some of that may come to the surface. And so I want to encourage you always to have another trusted therapist who is close by, who is monitoring your progress, who you can speak to. If anything I've said here in the chat today or in this live video has caused a trigger for you, I please encourage you to go ahead and call a hotline that's local to your country, to your city, to your area, and then reach out to therapists because those are the professionals who can help guide you through this. What I do want to offer you is a safe space to come and practice, to offer you my email address so that I can be here as your witness for what you're experiencing. I don't have all the answers. And remember that every single one of us experiences any Kriya very differently. So something that may be challenging and painful for me might be simple and straightforward for you. And that's true of any practice that you take on for addressing PTSD as well. So that chat is that video link is here in the chat. And I also want to offer you a link to the paper that my friend and colleague Farah Jindani wrote a few years back and created a protocol. That protocol is part of the video that you're going to see here. And that video is one of a series of a few different Kriyas. So my humble suggestion to you is that if you feel that this is speaking to you, that you take on that practice with support and that you take it on for as many days as you possibly can, 40 being ideal. And then coming in the month of October, we'll handle this particular topic a little bit more in depth and with a little bit more support from Kriyas and meditations. So let's come back to the idea of what's happening in the world right now. Remember that we've all gone through something life changing. The world has changed. And because the world has changed, each and every one of us have has to change. And that change for many of us has been powerful and impactful. And we've taken it as it needs to be. And for others, many others, there is struggle. And particularly, there will be struggle if there's economic hardship or there's other issues, compromising issues of poverty or education or access to healthcare or rural living or a pre-existing condition. All of these things will change the dynamics of how you might deal with this particular set of circumstances in our daily world. And that's why the support here on YouTube is really important to me, and to provide here an open platform and open forum so that you can come in and find a safe space to start to work through some of these things. You're not alone, and we're all in it together. You've heard that statement. It's the same ocean, but many different boats. And all of us have opportunity to choose differently. And so again, my recommendation is with support, see what these Kriyas have to offer you, take it on as many days as you possibly can, and do your best. There is you as your witness, and a redo is open to you every single day. So I've spoken a lot on this particular topic, and I wanted to open it out to the floor to see if there's any other questions that I can help answer, if there's any other experiences that you've been having. Vanessa, I'm just going to ask you, please, if you could post that link again. It's the video link. And also Vanessa is going to be sharing my email address. My email address is love.yogavision@gmail.com. And if you could please take a look at the chat for all of the information regarding Kundalini Yoga and PTSD, they're up in the chat. You can scroll all the way up. I've added them before we started, and Vanessa's going to add them here. So I'm just taking a look now to see if I can see you. Hello, Joy from Arlington, Virginia. Hi, Joy. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're back online with us. And who else do I have here? Deb, local to the studio. Thank you for being here. Natasha, thank you for being here as well. And who else do we have? Tanisha, I think I saw your name. Thank you. Catherine. Aha, nice to see you from Connecticut. Awesome. And I think that's all the yeah, I have a confession to you guys. I wear glasses, and right now the screen is looking small. So let me just add these, make this a little bit bigger if I can, so I can see what it is that you're looking to say. Tamara, thank you so much. So we're going to add the link here, and also my email address is there. So if you wanted to make a connection here, please feel free. And also the link is coming in. If you don't see it here below, hi, Robert. Thank you very much for being here. Charles, Choosing Divinity, thank you very much for being here. And also Nina. Awesome. We have a good group here that's gathered from all over the world. So if you could please ask any questions now, that would be really helpful. And I just want to say again that this protocols for PTSD, we'll have more of them coming in October. That's really an opportunity to do a little bit more of a deep dive into what is happening for you in helping to address PTSD. And then also to give you opportunities to connect with each other using the chat that is coming up under each video. So again, coming up in October is more of a conversation on PTSD and more kriyas and meditations for that. And then on a bi-weekly basis, I'll be back here for more live chats, exploring different topics and different ways of using Kundalini Yoga. The next one is scheduled for September 23rd, and that one is going to be on the topic of prosperity. So let's see if we've got that question. Okay, great. How much Kundalini Yoga is safe to do every day? I've done 3 hours. I've done 3 hours at a time. Okay, so the end of that is a little bit cut off, but I see what your question is. How much Kundalini Yoga? I think the question is how much Kundalini Yoga is enough. And I want to say that less is more, especially if you're dealing with a complex situation, especially if you're dealing with a fragile state of mind or a fragile state of beingness, that it's really important not to overdo. This is medicine just like any other medicine. And for some of you, you might be able-bodied enough to do 1 or 2 kriyas a day, and for others, going through 1 kriya is a good experience. So I would say choose 1 kriya and stick with it. And if you want to add on a little bit more physical practice, then add that on at a separate time during the day. So in other words, do the PTSD, the video for PTSD in the morning or once a day, and then follow up with something a little bit different later on in the day. I recommend Param Karam Dharam, and that is one of my favorite videos. It's a one that we put out last year. So those 2 videos, if you combine PTSD and secondarily wanted to add a little bit more of a physical practice, you can go ahead and do that. Both of them together combined will get you to just about 40 or 50 minutes. And that is a reasonable practice. I wouldn't go more than that. Again, especially if you're treating complex situation or any kind of pre-existing condition. Please don't overdo. It's just like eating a piece of cake. You know, there's that one piece that tastes amazing, and then when you finish off the entire cake, it's a whole other thing. So take it easy, take it in bite-sized chunks, watch, learn, grow, journal, talk to your therapist, make sure that you have a support network around you, and take it day by day, step by step. This is not a race. The things that happen to us in our life happen over a lifetime. They're not meant to be fixed or cured or healed overnight. They're meant to teach us. They're meant to be guides. They're meant to be a learning experience. And they're meant to be here as opportunities for the soul, our soul, each of our souls, to evolve. And that, my friends, we don't rush. And there's no need to rush. There's a lifetime here. I'm not saying don't be hungry for relief. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that we have to pace this. And what makes it more doable is when you take it in smaller pieces and really chew and digest and allow the medicine to come through you. By medicine, I mean the practice of Kundalini Yoga. I think that would be my best advice there. Thank you very much. That's from Magdalene K. Um, okay, so from Catherine, do you recommend different Kriyas for different triggers of PTSD? Yeah, I mean, there. What we're equipped to do right now today with the resources that are available on the my YouTube channel here, Yoga Vision 108, is to point you directly to a PTSD video. This particular one is got protocols, is come from a protocol of study. And so I would point you first in a generalized way to that particular video. And then for you, as you come to recognition about what it is that you're looking for, maybe what is surfacing for you, maybe it's anger, maybe it's stress itself, maybe it's healing that you need. All of those particular videos are also available. And any one of those can offer you some relief in terms of where you are and what you're looking for in terms of your own healing. And I would say if PTSD is on your mind and has been occurring to you as something that you need to address, then start with a generalized focus on PTSD and then message me. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more clear for you. Okay, going back to the questions, can you suggest something to help with regulating breathing and insomnia? Perfect. There are a lot of breathing techniques that I've embedded into each of the Kriyas that I teach. I think breath work is incredibly important. When you control your breath, you control your mind. When you control your mind, you control your life. And so every single video will have that. On a side note, I would offer to you alternate nostril breathing. And so let's take that on right now. We have a few more minutes. Let's take that on right now. So if you would sit up tall and straight. With your left hand, place that on your knee or on your lap, and take your right hand, cover your right nostril. Covering your right nostril means that your left nostril is open. Take a deep inhale through the left nostril. Cover your left nostril with your pinky, exhale right. Inhale right. Cover the right nostril, exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale very deeply. Cover, exhale. Inhale. Exhale and inhale again. So I'm going to continue to talk. You can continue on with that alternate nostril breathing for a few more rounds. This is a very helpful practice. It is alternate nostril breathing. It helps to balance both hemispheres of the brain. And so when you're balancing both hemispheres of the brain, you're also asking both sides of the brain to communicate with each other, to redirect energy, and to allow both a energizing and relaxing effect. And so this is a good practice to do at any point in the day if you're feeling overwhelmed or feeling that you're feeling a little stuck, something is not moving in your thought process. This is a really good one. It's balancing, it's the best for balancing both hemispheres of the brain. So I highly encourage that one. If you're having trouble with insomnia, so not being able to sleep properly, then stick to the left side. So cover the right nostril, inhale and exhale completely and fully only through the left nostril. So alternate nostril breathing, so going from right to left, you can do that for 3 minutes. And if sleep has been eluding you, then I would say cover the right nostril, breathe completely, inhale and exhale completely through the left nostril only for 3 minutes. Okay, so one is balancing and one is fully relaxing. I hope that answers your question, Tanisha. I'll move on now to the question from Natasha. Can meditation be good to help PTSD and traumatic thoughts that appear at night before bed? Okay, it's a great idea to meditate. Meditation gives every single one of us an opportunity to reflect and to think deeply on what's happening in our lives and what options we are choosing and what is really in front of us. What's the true Satnam? Satnam being the truth. What's the truth of the situation? Now, this is a challenge for lots of people on a regular. And so if you're working with PTSD and meditation is something that you're interested in, my encouragement is to follow along with a guided meditation, just like we did just now, or choose one of the other meditation videos that are on this channel and have some assistance as you go. A silent meditation with your eyes closed is probably the most challenging way to go. In other words, our mind has lots of different places it can go, and it likes to go. And when we're using mantra and breath work and mudras, all of those very powerful yogic techniques, those are the things that kind of keep our mind focused. It's very difficult to think other thoughts when your mind is focused on repeating a certain word over and over again, like Satnam, or your fingers are being held in a particular kind of mudra, or you're focused on a breathing pattern. All of those make it very difficult for the mind to stray. So that's what I would recommend for meditation. It's a great question, Natasha. Thank you very much for offering that. Magdalene, thank you for the hearts. Tamara, thank you for the happy face. Let's see. Is Kundalini Yoga safe for a throat chakra? It's inflamed since 2 weeks after my brother's death and my mother's brain stroke. DM, thank you very much for talking to us about where you're at right now. Um, is Kundalini Yoga safe? This question comes up quite a bit. And what I would say to you is that you know yourself best. And if a particular practice you're going through and you feel good results, and I don't mean, yeah, you feel happy and good every single time, but rather you finish the practice and afterwards you feel lighter and you may have had shed some tears during the way or gotten angry during the way, and the end result is you're feeling lighter and feeling freer, then that's the one to stick with. If you tried something out and it is uncomfortable, if it causes more triggers, if it flashes back, then ease off. Try something else, come back to it a couple of days and notice how your experience might have changed. So my best advice is to be gentle. My best advice is to be kind. Those are, I know, easier said than done. And at the same time, the best advice. I want to say again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a trained counselor. My background is in yoga therapy. And what I can offer you is that when our truth is not flowing, in other words, the energy of our heart, what's here in terms of love and compassion is not reaching how we're speaking and it's not being vocalized or verbalized, then chances are that it'll come up through a sore throat, through a cough, through swollen glands, for example. And so our body has a very profound way of speaking with us, of communicating. And oftentimes that's done through pain, discomfort, because that's what pulls our attention. When everything's working well, we keep on going the way that we've gone. And when the body says no, that's when we have to start paying attention. And my hope for all of us is that we catch those things, we catch the information, we catch the triggers before we ever get to a place where we need to lay down and rest because we have cancer or brain fatigue or immune system challenges or any of those things that really compromise our day-to-day well-being. So I hope that helps. I'm being careful in my response because obviously I haven't been able to meet all of you and I don't know your medical condition. personally, but I do encourage you to give each practice a go, see how you adapt to it, see if it offers relief, and keep going if it does exactly that. I'm moving down in the chat now. Okay, thank you, Tanisha. I'm glad it helped. Michelle from Japan. Less is more. You explain it. Yes. My pleasure. Okay, so we just want to come back to the ideas less is more. It is so, I know that when I was new to the practice, I loved it so much that I would go for hours because I felt it and I loved it and I liked it. And now, having seen the effects of Kundalini Yoga, I can tell you that it doesn't take much. And we may have learned through our popular culture that an hour of class is really the requirement, or 30 minutes is a minimum, or any of those kind of things. But remember, we're not just dealing with a yoga asana. We're dealing with energy. We're dealing with frequency. We're dealing with healing the brain. We're talking about the nervous system. You and I are very complex beings. We have so much going on. We have chakras, we have gunas, we have tattvas, we have so many layers. We have 10 bodies. We have so many layers to how we show up that less is more. Do a little, reflect, do it well, keep up with it, and then see what happens. Okay, moving on now. Natalia, how long Shavasana is needed? Okay, great question. In the last few video releases, we have been giving everyone an option to pause the video and come back after their own Shavasana. Long pauses of silence on a video are a little bit harder to manage because it's actually disturbing. You don't know if the video is stopped or if your internet has fallen or any of those kind of things. So from purely a watcher's perspective, we have shortened that time. So we've given you the option to pause and then you come back to it. A really good relaxation, a body part by body part relaxation, the full amount is 11 minutes. If you want to really give yourself an opportunity to relax, here's my suggestion is that you do a Kriya, pause the video at the time that we give you, and set your own timer for 11 minutes. Once the timer goes off, come back and then rejoin us for the meditation. That will give you an opportunity to really soak in all the effect and to really relax. We are, in general, very wound up as a culture, as a society, even more so now that on a cultural mass level, we are starting to experience and note that PTSD has come into our mainstream experience. And it's really important that we have enough time to relax, not just sleep, but actually to relax, to be untethered from the phone, to be untethered from the Wi-Fi, the internet, and to really be in a place of relaxation. So I highly encourage you to do that. Important step forward. Hope that answers your question. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you very much. And DM, you're most welcome. I'm really pleased to be on the line with you, and just to say one more time that we're back with a new video release next week. And then we'll be also hosting a new live chat on the 23rd of September. So my hope is that we have one practice video up and then the alternating weeks we have a live so that you and I can chat and we can have a conversation together. And any questions that come up along your practice, you know where to reach me. So once again, my email address is love.yogavision@gmail.com. And we'll put down that Kundalini Yoga link for PTSD. Vanessa, if you could please do that for us, that would be awesome. And there are lots of videos here on breathwork. You can take a look at Sitali Pranayam. That's a great video that you can take a look at, as well as any of the meditation videos. The one for self-love, which we've just completed a 40-day challenge on, that's excellent and highly recommended. Okay, so just taking a look here. Thank you, Cindy, for joining in. And Natalia, should you worry about energetic experiences? No. What I'm wanting you to understand is that um, a yoga class is not just a yoga class, and you and I are not just bags of flesh with a brain and some organs. We are energy systems, we are complex beings, we have memory, we have genetic memory, we have ancestral memory. There's so much to who we are and how we are that when you take on a Kundalini yoga practice, that you do it with a sense of reverence and you do it with a sense of moderation. So, in other words, 3 hours of practice doesn't make you better or more. One practice is really powerful and can do the job that you need it to be done without complicating it with many more hours. I hope that helps clarify my point there. So if that's it, then I'd like to take another opportunity for us to breathe together, and we'll come to conclusion in just another minute or so. So please sit up tall and straight. Roll your shoulders all the way up close to your ears and roll the shoulders all the way back and down. This is Sitali Pranayam. It's a cooling breath. So if you find that your belly is upset, you find tension or anxiety, then this is the next breathing practice that you could experience. And again, just about a minute is enough. Inhaling through the mouth and exhaling through the nose. So creating a O-shaped mouth. This is the step one. Inhaling deeply into the belly and closing the mouth, exhaling through the nose. Closing the mouth, exhaling nose. So inhale mouth, exhale nose. This is a cooling breath. It's also a way of releasing anger and a great way to cool down. So if you have anger inside of you, if your temper is flaring, if you've got some heat or indigestion or inflammation, also a very good breathing practice. And that's how I'd like for us to come to the conclusion of our conversation today, is to cool off, to be steady, to be ready, and to be in this place of knowing that there's always hope and that there is safe places everywhere. And if we can seek them out and know that they're available, they will be easier to find. Let's begin again. Inhale through the mouth. Close the mouth, exhale nose. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Continue. So we're just about to sign off. Thank you, everybody. Take a deep inhale. Tense all your muscles. Tense, tense, tense. Hold, hold, hold. And through the mouth, let it go. Good. If you like what we're doing here and it's adding value, please hit the like button and remember to subscribe to our channel. We'd love to see you. Make sure that you're part of our community. We have lots of interesting options that are coming up. If you're ready to do a little bit more Kundalini Yoga, there is a membership program and that is available via link. I'm going to add that below once we're wrapped up on this call. That's an opportunity to get in on the ground level and to take unlimited classes. Many of them are not available here on our YouTube channel, that can expand your practice. There will be in the fall coming up live Zoom classes with me that are a bit more private for members only. And then also we have yoga teacher training. So that is an opportunity to explore 300 hours of Kundalini Yoga. And it's taught from my command central here just outside of Toronto, beamed directly to your home. It's 100% online and an opportunity to really study Kundalini Yoga and what it has to offer. Because each and every single one of us has a different reason for coming to this practice. And there is so much to know and so much to learn. I can barely fit it in an hour. If you would give me a little bit more of your time and your commitment, then we can certainly make sure that you're ready for the world and ready for all the changes that are coming up, not just in the world, but in your life. I hope that this has been a helpful experience today. Please remember to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment below. Let me know where you're tuning in from. It's amazing to have so many familiar names. And I know many of you here coming from Toronto Live, and many of you who I've met over the last few months as we've done numerology consults. I take your leave now. My name is Salimah, yoga therapist. And remember, I am just an email away. Set now.